This whole system, what you're seeing in the 21st century, because we're looking at it with reality now, is that it's built on myth, it's built on lies and fraud, like advertising. That's all lies, frauds, try and get you to buy stuff. They make everything look glossy or overlook some facts or try and look like it's great, right? And they lie to you. And so whole systems are being built to add to the deception. To add to the deception of you. To lie to you. The whole system. And it's toxic. The whole thing is toxic. Well, wait a minute. Not just economics. Oh, no. Religion. Religion is all myth. All these dark age religions, we've been saying it. Just look at them. What do they rely on? Myth. Stories made up by dumb people from 2,000 years ago. People who didn't know anything about anything. So they made it up. Fabulous stories. To just cover why something happens. Like hurricanes. Right now, there's the time of this recording, a lot of attention going on the hurricane season. Well, look at the history. The name itself, Huracan, it came from a name given to a god of destruction. Because they didn't know anything. They didn't know what a hurricane was. So they just made it say, it's a god. It's God. It's a Huracan. It's like that everywhere. That's what religion is based on. And thrown in there with this fear and, myth and the lack of knowing anything, ignorance, came in the manipulation to control you. Because in there, they could make up the myth to justify repression. And that's what we've seen. The repression of homosexuals, repression of women, even racism, it all has come around and been used by religion. These dark age religions. The economics is a disaster. Whole companies are built. There is this one called Cambridge Analytica. And its whole reason, its whole construction was to intentionally create political lies and rumors to manipulate elections. So the idea was, we take on Cambridge Analytica, which the American Republican Party did, and then they will turn loose all these myths and lies into social media access, like Facebook, to manipulate you, to lie to you, to add to the whole mountain of deceit that is this whole structure of economics, politics, religion. And folks, look what is happening. You're just reaping what you sow. The whole world is drowning in the poison and pollution and toxicity and overpopulation of all that stupidity and intentional lying. So when you think you're going to have this resolution, now UN just came out with a report. The UN said, well, you got about 16 years, really, it looks like. The UN had a report, came out, study on climate, and the whole thing of this issue. Nobody in the real scientific world, folks, is denying humans caused climate change. Just time to put in reality here and not Republican lies. Everybody's on board with the fact that humans, in their economic system and in the way they're doing things, in their toxicity, is the responsibility. It's right there. Humans are responsible for this dramatic climate change. the burning of fossil fuels. So who's against changing? Who wants to stop it? Republicans. Why? Because Republicans are funded by the burning fossil fuel companies and corporations who want to keep poisoning and polluting to get their money. They don't want to end their business. They're making billions upon billions destroying the whole planet. That's the people who are saying that climate change doesn't exist. It's not caused by humans. Oh, no. Right? That's the only ones who are doing it. The scientific community around the globe is in agreement. Climate change is happening, and it's caused by humans, and in particular the burning of fossil fuels. All this crap of coal and oil and petroleum and let alone all the chemical industries. As you can hear in the background, the jets, traffic coming in over there. Well, think of them. They're dumping all sorts of poisons and toxins and burning fossil fuels. That whole industry is affected. They'd have to change dramatically. Well, the UN report says, as here, 2019, says, well, you really got maybe 16 years to make a change before this accelerated disaster that's underway reaches such a dramatic state that it's just like a tipping point. It's gone too far. And then it's just complete meltdown. And so when that thing happens, because, look at, it's against you, all these billionaires building everything on myth and deception and advertising deceit to keep the whole system going. So who are you going to blame? Who are you going to are you going to take them to court when it actually happens that all this stuff is so dramatically out of control, and the chemical industries, the corporations of oil and coal destroyed you and your kids? You're going to take them to court and strip them of all their money and everything like you should and put them in jail as the biggest criminals ever? That they destroyed the whole planet? Lied to you over and over relentlessly? Paid off Republican legislators to lie to you and block legislation that would demand that you get clean air and clean water for you and your kids, and that you set the 21st century agenda that actually the whole system really is about you. It is you. You are the important factor. It's your air and water first. Not business, not corporations. It's your air and water. No business can poison your water supply. They're out of business. No company, no corporation can poison and dump crap into your air for you and your kids. If they do, they're out of business. You're first. No agricultural concern can dump poison and pesticides on your food and then bring this tainted vegetables to market, put them in your grocery store, and you're supposed to take them home and wash off their poisons and pollution from your food. You're supposed to clean up their mess. So it is, the time of this recording, 2019, there's a lot of, here in the United States, a lot of political discussion going on about the 2020 election, and no political candidate, except me, Daddy Mac, right here, is telling you how important, how dramatic, and how big this change has to be. It's the whole economic system. It's the whole theory, the philosophy of economics that has to change. Because right now it's guaranteed to be poison and pollution because it's based upon profit. Profit at any price. Profit as the measure of success. Profit. Doesn't matter if you poison and pollute the world. Did you make a profit? That's the model, and that is what happens with that model. Guaranteed. I haven't heard any Democratic candidate for president right here, and there's a ton of them, say correctly and dramatically and so completely how big this change has to be in economics. I haven't heard any political candidate talk about how big is the social change in the society. We need a complete overhaul of the police. We have to bring the police up to 21st century. We have to greatly elevate their education, their skill, their knowledge to 21st century standards. Because they've been an instrument of, here in the United States, they've been an instrument of repression and racism. Just look at the history. You got to get rid of the drug war. It's been a disaster. You have to end this. Really what you're getting rid of is the whole policy of prohibition. You get rid of the policy of prohibition. Legalize drugs so that you run the market, not criminal enterprise. You legalize prostitution so that you run the market, not criminal enterprise. Not one political candidate is willing to say truth and the dramatic but truthful necessity of what has to happen, and we got to get on it here pretty quick. We got to get going on it. Now this is because, just look at the Republican Party, who has embraced Christian extremism, these Christian fascists, really, Christian lunatics, who out to say repress homosexual rights, repress women's rights, who blend in with the racists that are all in the Republican Party. But we also then are confronted with a big change in religion to catch up to the 21st century. And, as we've been saying, most of these religions, they can't upgrade to the 21st century because they base their whole religion on Dark Age myths of stupidity put together by dumb people from 2,000 years ago who didn't know anything about anything. And it's time to let all that go. We have to come into the 21st century. Face what we know. Our science, our intelligence, our history of knowledge, our experience of history. And we throw out all the crap, all the myth, all the creation myth. Well, do you think, as an example, they're all like it, but as an example, this means, for example, the Catholic Church. Do you think the Catholic Church is going to say, all right, we can have women priests, like they should? Do you think they can say women are completely equal? Because remember, the Catholic Church, like Islam, like Judaism, like Hinduism, has said and has instituted that women are actually secondary status. You know that whole thing in the Catholic Church of women covering their head and the nuns covering their head and stuff is a sign of women's secondary status based upon the myths. Islam, putting women in bags, that isn't religion. That's repression of women. Can they upgrade? Can they drop all that? Can the Catholic Church says, well, celibacy on priests was a great disaster and stupidity and it's never going to work, forced celibacy, so we're going to get rid of them and, priests can marry and do what they want. Do you think the Catholic Church is going to say, yes, even the Pope can be a woman? And come up to the 21st century. See how much that, how much they got to go? How much that would just whack out the establishment, the conservative, religious nuts that are part still in these old religions? But they got to. They've all got to. And just the Catholics. It's all the Christians. It's all Islam. It's all the Judaism. It's all the Hindu. All of them. Got to come up to the 21st century. That's how big it is. But here we got the report from the UN saying you got 16 years economically to change the whole system. To stop this like airplane, you can hear them cruising in here with poison and dumping and toxicity that is all part of airline traffic. All these economic systems that are in play have to go, have to change. Quick, quick, quick. If humanity is not going to show itself to be the most stupid species to come down the whole pipe of all the species up to this point. I don't know. Sometimes you wonder if maybe it's too late. That all this piled on deceit that has been added to, an attitude of, more and more, just more things add to the deception. More advertising. Like Cambridge Analytica coming along and lying to you. The whole model was just to lie to you politically. Fabricate stories of lies to manipulate elections. Republicans embracing, like with Putin, and his manipulation of the public election in America. And China, and think of every country with the current system that's really in place to lie to you and control you and stop you from equal rights. And religion, throwing off the whole dark age contraption of the gross stupidity that has been the Dark Age religions. Now we got a 21st century religion in place. Doesn't adhere to any of that stuff. Starts fresh. No myths, no nothing. You can find it. Society of Sacred Flowers. It's got a podcast. It's got a webpage. societyofsacredflowers.org. You can find it. And you got the politics, the economics with President Mac, presidentmac.org. It's right here with me, your guy telling you, Daddy Mac right here. And it's a podcast like you're listening to, and we'll keep pumping them out. Because somebody has to start doing it exactly more openly and correctly of where we are. And what we need to hear, what we need to think about, what we need to change to fit our 21st century reality, our intelligence, our science, and our rather desperate situation in our whole planet. This tremendous change of the whole economic system and its motivation. You have to throw out the whole system of profit. And you replace it with a system that says, be a benefit to others. That's it. Start the business first thing. Be a benefit to others. Environmentally, between the employer and employee, the chemistry of anything you make, the quality of anything you make, all that stuff, it becomes the first thing is your motivation. First thing. To fit our 21st century reality of equal rights, environmental sanity, and our overall 21st century reality. Not myth. No more myths. No more advertising lies and deceits. We go into reality. 21st century. PresidentMac.org right here with me, Daddy Mac, telling you. And as far as religion, you can check over and see societyofsacredflowers.org, as well also a podcast, Society of Sacred Flowers. Let's get into where we are. Most of you really get it already. You know, you get it, you're there. Well, let's go. You got to be the candidate. You have to set that agenda. You have to put that in place. You have to vote for candidates who do support the agenda of 21st century reality. Let's get into the light of where we really are.